antecedents, and but when you lift, apparently lifting it, what's popping out is quotations from Western art. And that seemed to me to be like a provocation. I wonder how you would like to comment on that.
Well, you started with the city of Bombay. So the Bombay city itself is a major influence or inspiration. And I mean, any metropolis, who generates or kind of, gives you so much diverse simultaneously. So I think my interest in diverse art, from prehistoric to postmodern, I'm interested in everything. And I want everything to be get included in my work. Now how to do it? So that means, how much but can you take it? So the whole, my real concern is sometimes alone when I'm in my studio, it's just about the articulation of how you appreciate or do you understand a work of art? That's something which I really question. I ask myself, because one wants to do so many things, and every time it's not that the understanding. Like when I say I like it, is it because I understood, or what is that understanding a work of art? All these things kind of comes to my mind that parallelly with all these things what we have been discussing. So that's something else, but I just shared with you that. But I think it's just, you're part of such a huge tradition, not just in terms of, only Indian, but West and visually whatever is available, which is part of me, and I am part of that. That's what I feel. And I think the city provides this, the urban city, and particularly city like Bombay, where so many languages and so many diverse kind of experiences, which keeps coming all the time on your way. So that has helped the popular culture and many things, and sometime in a very lighter vein, sometime in a very serious note, one would approach that. But I think it's just basically, when you see masters, from our own past, or even from the Western, art history, it's just you feel like attempting those things in your own way. And sometimes, like as a young student, I used to copy
the
Van
mimicry,
Gogh.
the act of mimicry.
Yeah, like say Van Gogh's portrait, and I would attempt copy it. And when you achieve that likeness, and you feel good about it. So I think sometime even I still do that. Like for example, it's just a Kufi Quran. It's just almost with the indigo background and the gold leaf. I just enjoyed it. But yeah, you're right that underneath is a Motherwell.
Yeah.
Now, Motherwell is an American painter, and the work is Elegy to Spanish Republic, about Spanish Civil War. So here is an artist in 50s doing a series of paintings about moving out of its strongly pictorial painted image. That, how could I say, a work of art just picked up, or not picked up, but taken from Rao Singh's photographs could constitute a work of art. Now I think we've moved a lot since then, and here in this, as the title goes, is Rao Singh photographing himself, and he from 1892 to 1948 he took well over 100 self-portraits, and then below in the second line you see his daughter. Now at that time I just came across a comment by Peter Wallen about Roland Barthes, who, as you know, loved photography, loved it as amateur, as Deepak Anand says, one who loves and loves and loves. But Roland Barthes was not very sympathetic to cinema. And Peter Wallen says he doesn't agree with that, because he says indexically the photograph has the potential to tell a story. And I think that gave me the cue that here is a man who died at the age of 84, and here's a woman in the lower strip. In a sense you can call it film strip, but these are all original analog pictures. And so in the way that the viewer crosses over and then finds, like they all move to Paris, and so the set of pictures starting from below, from childhood, etc., as it moves to Paris, in the same flat becomes, in a sense, the set for
in quotes, the movie that's taking place and being played out by father and daughter. Now, if you take self-portraits, obviously, and as you can see, Umrao Singh, had a great sense of himself, a narcissism, and Amrita Shergill equally, because she's been photographed literally from the day she was born, always was there to pose and pose for her father. So the photographer is both photographer and father. And you can see that she's discovering herself, the whole family's moved there, and she's saying, okay, Papa, you now take me here, take me there, and some provocative pictures which might not, like she's wearing a swimsuit here, and you'll see it appearing again in my digital photo montages. As you'll see, there's a playful quality, but as you move further down and to the end, unfortunately, I don't have the close-ups of Amrita, but you'll see them later at the end of her life, that already in her expression, in her visage, there is already a deep sense of tragedy and melancholy, in a sense of doom, that is she going to live or not. And then Umrao Singh has also melancholy. Now I move to the next, and now we've entered the new millennium. We've entered the age of the digital, or the age of post-photography, whichever word you like to use. And I quote this wonderful, brilliant writer and curator. She's been to India a few times, and you've heard her. And I will just read this. The artist is himself a montage. He is the artist whose manipulation are a kind of dreaming, and a curator who stages the context of interpretation. He is the archivist who assembles and organizes the past, the photographer who understands that the medium is a kind of writing, the author of fictions who arrives at truth via contrivance, and the director of pre-staging scenes, and the archaeologist who breathes meaning into relics. That's me. 5 minutes. I'll need more. Sorry. Okay, I'm just going through this. There's a playful relationship again between father and daughter, which you saw, but these are digitally manipulated photographs, and they then are already with the title Retake of Amrita, implying that this is a shot from a film. And here the melancholy aspect again looms large over them at the end of their lives. And here, in a more playful way, that's the title of the central photograph, that he is surrounded by his family and their various trajectories out in other directions. I won't read Deepak Anand's text because Gayatri is a strict person who likes to keep good time. Okay, and then the historical moment, meeting in Gorakhpur. Again, I'm not going to read what's below because it's quite written at length. It's Jawaharlal Nehru and Amrita meeting in the sugar factory in Gorakhpur. And again, these are based on two photographs which you see on this side. And it's just from the basis of those two photographs, by entering into, I think this is the show you did, right? Cinema Still. All right. I did it for you.
Cinema Still.
Cinema Still, right. So I was able to, again, when you tell a lie, you tell a truth, or you penetrate or enter, and I speak equally about my own desires, as well as whatever you interject between these two persons. One, of course, is one of India's greatest freedom fighters, etc., and a very personal, vivid encounter between the two of them, where eroticism and desire and sexuality play themselves out. But at the end, I have a quote, because in 1940, Nehru went as part of the Quit India movement, and he was arrested and put into Dehradun jail for over 14 months. And in fact, they have a newspaper cutting when he's released and Amrita dies almost the same date in December 1941. Now, Indira's piano, I will now come to the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds because it's a video. And here the kind of family unit gets complete. And as I said earlier on, that my interest in still life was there, but also a thing that affected me greatly was a classic film by the great French filmmaker Chris Marker, and it was, I think, one of the first screenings of La Jetée, which was made in '62, but England always took time to receive the radical elements from across the channel, and in about '60, '67, at the British Film Institute, I saw La Jetée, and it's a series of stills which makes a film. But of course, the difference there is that he's, as it was, shot it like a film. They aren't archival material, but the fact that a man could make a whole feature-length film on stills, somehow was always there at the back of my mind. And in a sense where you want to live the archive, relive it, animate it in some way, get into it, I decided that we've had a lot of father and daughter going on, and I will now play Indira's piano with her mother, and it is about musicality because Marie Antoinette was a pianist and a kind of opera singer, and Indira went to study piano in Paris. So we'll play the video. These are just short clips. It's a 12-minute video, and these are 4 different clips. Sorry, the sound has to be taken from the mic, but